Hello and welcome to a SmurDP video. It's probably been a while since I've been behind the camera, in front of the camera. That came out completely wrong. And this isn't the usual video I do. I've probably weighed up my thoughts over the evening on whether I wanted to actually do this video, because mainly my videos are generally quite well, probably a bit boring, but I like to think that they are reasonably positive videos about a product or a show or something like that. However, this is a bad experience, and I'm trying to do what I do, which is keep things logical and just try to keep it around the fact. However, there's a lot of emotion in this as well from myself, being generally, like most people would, upset about this. So I've been to many cons over this year, quite lucky to go to many cons and been quite successful in what I wanted to achieve from them. So from meeting Jodie Whittaker to Jason Momoa to the Red Time Force Ranger. So, you know, I've met some real heavy hitters and some people that I generally wanted to meet that people are like, oh, okay. London Comic Con, or is it London Winter Comic Con, in Olympia, Kensington. So Ncuti, Gatwa's, I think maybe their first UK appearance, and Millie Gibson, as well as the companion, were both there on this day. Now, I think I bought my tickets, I guess, reasonably early, or as early as I possibly could afford. So Ncuti was £95 and Millie was £55. So and Millie came, I think we were told around October she was coming. So I got batch 7 with Ncuti and batch 4 with Millie. Now I turn up this show quite excited. Obviously we had learnt a couple of days before that the talk had been cancelled, which I was a bit disappointed because I like to go see those and record those. However, this has a no record policy apparently, so I probably wouldn't have been able to record it without being told off. So, which is disappointing when you've paid for something extra. I don't understand the mentality behind it at all. However, it is there. So that was cancelled. You know, that was £20. I wasn't bothered because that meant I wasn't staying till 6:15 to watch that talk. So from that perspective, I'm generally happy. So the time frames were, so Ncuti started at 11 o'clock in the morning and was meant to run till 12 o'clock. Now, bear in mind, you can buy diamond passes, which I think maybe cost £100 more. So you can spend more just to make sure that you're in first. And so forth. So around 11 o'clock, you can imagine, because the only way to communicate that a batch number is required is they shouted out that it's required. So you can imagine all these people sort of crowded around to listen. So I've got to apologize because I didn't think at the time, because I was so frustrated, invested, whatever. I took no videos, no pictures. So I'm really sorry, because I could have done better and I could have demonstrated on this video, but I didn't know I was doing a video at the time. I had no intention to do a video at the time because I thought I was going to be successful by the end of it, which I wasn't. So they have the walkway layered out, so you go in your little columns, but they didn't block the outside and create sort of one controlling entrance or two controlling entrance, one in, one out. So they didn't control it to keep the crowds in a sort of formation. So they were probably overpacking this area, which meant diamond tickets people were struggling to get through with ease, and that perhaps slowed down. Please let me be clear, I'm not blaming people. I was just hovering around. But the thing is, so they had two photo things, photo A, photo B. But opposite that, they had some people that had obviously come to, you know, talk about comics, etc. And it felt like they were in the wrong place. They felt like there should have been more of a space, especially out of photo A. It really did. So they were going through all these things, and then and bear in mind, they've not got any microphones. They've literally got one person in the thick of it, literally one person in the thick of it, making these announcements with his voice, not very loud, not very clear, not getting the message before, not saying, look, if you are not in diamond or batch 1 to 3, don't even hang around here. Literally, that's all they had to say, and people would have gone away and, you know, just left it and been quite happy about it, because we all knew it was going to be a tight schedule anyway, and we all really wanted to get in, but the message wasn't coming out there. So no control from the organization. And it's not the guy's fault. The guy's just one man, just shoved in the thick of it, you know. So they get to, it's approaching 12, and then all of a sudden they say that we're not doing any batches, we're moving on to the duo. So people knew at this point they were moving on to duos. More for me, because I was going to buy a duo, but I looked at it, the duo was more than the separation, which doing them individually, but more for me because I've done duos before. I did Jody and Mandeep earlier in the year. It wasn't a big deal. It was just cheaper, so I just decided this route was the best route. Now, so the duos was meant to start at 12, and then Millie singles at 12:20. So that so I think already Ncuti was overrunning anyway in terms of getting these diamond passes through, because there were so damn many of them. Kudos to you, by the way. And then they moved on to the duos. So there were duos with priorities, whatever. So they go through the motion again, but all the duos get through. Bear in mind, they have overrun. I can't remember how much they overrun, but they had overrun. So Ncuti, I guess, getting an in-between break and moving to photo shoot B, which seems bizarre in my mind because it was the smaller, it felt like an even more tighter space for them to manage people, was severely delayed. And he's meant to start, so Millie's meant to run until it sort of overlaps about 20 past 1. And Ncuti's meant to start at 1:05. So Millie then has all diamond passes coming through. And by the time they finish, they literally do not get to any of the batches at all. No batches. Come back at 4 o'clock. Okay, that's that. However, so I was hovering around there, hoping that I was going to, because I was in quite an early batch, I was hoping I was going to get through somehow, but that didn't happen. So we then all sort of moved to photo booth B, or lots of people were there anyway, and they called batch 1. Everyone was, you know, excited because they were like, yes, this is going to finally happen after this morning's crap show. And then it gets worse. It gets worse because then he makes the announcement, we're going to try and get through all of you. They know they're not going to achieve this. He has about a 40-minute window, and he had barely begun. We're trying to get through you, and then basically they offered, if you wanted to, you can come back on Sunday. You can come in the show free as charge, and you can come get your picture. Which you can imagine most people, especially people that have traveled, you know, I mean, I don't live too far away. I live about an hour on a couple of trains. And in theory, I could do it today, but I am... In fact, I'll get to that later. Right, so anyway, so he makes his announcement, and you can come speak to me, and, you know, I'll put your name down, whatever, if you want to come tomorrow. And you can imagine most people wouldn't either had other plans, weren't going to come, etc., etc. So it is what it is, and we're all waiting around. And batch 1, they did not even make it through batch 1 before they called quits. Now, I know Ncuti had to go early, hence why the talk was cancelled. but I don't know whether he went back to sign. I feel like he went back to signing, and I feel, why wouldn't you have just, they almost needed another photo shoot booth for, and this isn't me being disrespectful to anybody else's guests, for the other guests, so that they could have given these two that they knew that had the most tickets brought for them, other than I think Mr. Sheen. He was probably the other popular one, but he was done and dusted. They knew how many tickets they had to get through, so why they didn't give more time? So it got canned, and then this next guy was coming on. Literally, they did not get through batch one. They maybe got through a quarter of batch one. It was that bad. So, and I think there was from what I gather, I mean, obviously we were speaking about our batches to other people. I'm sure I heard batch 11 was one of them. I hope I'm not wrong on that. So very, very disappointed not to get my picture with Ncuti like many others. I've sent my email for a refund because I have no intention of going back today, mainly because I thought, what if it is the same crap show that they had today? And I think he's got shorter time for photo shoots today. It's even shorter than yesterday, because I think they weren't meant to be here today. And that's part of the problem. And now I can appreciate and understand how some of the people felt with not getting their stuff at Basingstoke Comic Con. And, you know, that to some people was a bit of a shit show. But pardon my language, I don't usually swear on these videos, but this was really bad. And this is a big organization. They've been running this con for years now. It's not a new con. They know these things. So how on earth they could have messed up so poorly, so badly, is beyond me. So I then had a grueling 2-hour wait where I was just knackered off just standing up for hours. And once again, around 4 o'clock, I was quite relaxed about it. So I knew I was in batch 4. I knew that they were going to have diamond people. But eventually I got in the queue. I got in the queue quite reasonably early. And then I went through. And I think by the time I was there, I was already not... I wasn't even interested in this picture at this point. Because I felt like I had not achieved what I had set out to do. If I'd got my Ncuti picture, I wouldn't have cared about waiting around 2 hours for this. But I thought I've got to go for this, because if I don't, I won't get a refund on this. If it all goes through, I will not get a refund on it. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to stay and go through. Now, I'm going to be careful about what I say next, because it's probably quite, could be quite a grenade in today's society, and I'm not interested in grenades and, you know, winding people up. You can all have your opinions as much as you want. So when I've seen guests in the past, it always feels very welcoming. You could say, let's do a cool pose. You have a few minutes, you have maybe a minute max. You still have maybe a minute max. You don't have lots of time, but you have enough time to say hi, shake their hand, and you have time to maybe do something interesting and cool. And not that I'm a cool person in my picture. I probably look like a right fool, but I do try and want them to look at least a little bit interesting. And this one, it felt so controlling and so strict. And I'm not sure whether it's this Comic Con in general, or they do it with everybody. I'm not sure if it was there was a difference between how they approached men or women. I have, you know, I can't recall what the woman in front of me was asked to do, because, well, not that I'm not a hugger, by the way. She hugged me afterwards, you know, and I thought, you know, you do all these things, and it's like, you just let that happen. God, do you know what I mean? It's really bizarre. So you get there and they say, when you go stand up there, you got to put your hands in front of you, and she will put her arm around you, And I'm thinking, what, am I going to look like a leopard? I just thought it was really, really a controlling thing. And don't get me wrong, I thought the other thing is actually this young lady is really young. Maybe this is her first con, and, you know, maybe there is you know, things safeguarding to protect her, which I completely agree with as well. You know, we should be safeguarding our young people from unwanted hands. And like I said, I'm not a hugger, so I wouldn't even thought about doing anything like that. The only person that I did was when me and my son went and met Jodie and Mandeep, and, you know, it just happened. So, you know, it wasn't even a big deal. And, you know, she's, you know, and she was like, hi, and, you know, but that was it. It was so quick and over with. And I'm probably put up a picture here somewhere. And my daughter said, you know, I told my daughter about it, I told my wife about it. You know, my daughter said, the picture looks nice, you know, what, you know, it's a nice picture, you know. And I did my thing with the screwdriver, you know, it looks all right. But I just thought it was odd. And if any of you understand it a bit more, you know, please share with me if it's just this calm specifically, because, you know, I don't know what they were doing with the other guests, etc., whether it was just this one. So it would be interesting to hear other people's opinions. If you went to this con, you met somebody else like Chris Barry or somebody, and you know, what the rules around that were. It would be interesting to find out, just for, you know, I don't know, future knowledge, I guess. But yeah, definitely the whole thing felt like a shambles, and I feel like it's probably only this part of the show that was a shambles. You know, I felt like they perhaps should have had more of a game plan, more of a dedicated team to manage this, because they've had A-listers in before. So, you know, and, you know, I think one year they had Matt, David Tennant, Chris Eggleston, you know, I think Peter Capaldi was there as well. So, you know, it's amazing how this one became such a bad thing and has left such a bitter taste in my mouth. I've got one more con next week, which is a very small one. But this was my last big one of the year, and maybe I've been fortunate enough to go to the likes of Monopoly's ones, which are so well done, so well controlled. The teams are spot on. They know exactly, you know, I was expecting to see somebody, so they would have this is what I expected to see in my mind when it came to this particular photo, was they had their little wraparounds and their barriers controlling it, and they had a table at the end saying, if you are not in batch whatever, don't even come here, because you're not getting any further. We will announce it when your batch is, or PA system, some way to communicate with people. Absolutely shocking. And, you know, people were slating Basingstoke Comic-Con for that. Bear in mind, that's a hotel. You know, this is a professional place where expos are done on a constant basis. Why wouldn't you have just given your team, just give them a freaking handheld halo? They were easy gone, you know, blah, 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 blah. Done. Don't hang around if you are not in batch 1 to 3, because you are not getting anywhere near this. Absolutely ridiculous. And I feel and maybe that was the thing with the Millie post. I was so gutted, and like I said, you know, this isn't just me talking about the facts. It's a bit more disappointing in terms of you know, not getting my picture. You know, I paid a lot of money. I've got to try and get a refund. Then I've got to try and see him again at some point. It's a lot of hard work. You know, I went on a train. Went on 2 trains to go there. You know, I had to walk to my nan's to get my car on the way home. I got back really late as well. You know, once again, maybe my fault. Maybe I should have done the duos, and I would have left at a reasonable time. I would have been home at a reasonable time. I would have been relaxed. I would have got what I wanted and been quite satisfied. You know, it just felt. But if they had organized it better, if they had controlled it better, you know, I would have preferred an email the couple of days before. Look, your batch is not going to make it through to Ncuti's photo shoot. You have two options. You either try and risk it for a biscuit, or we just give you a refund, or you attend, and if you don't get a picture, you get a refund after. At least expectations would have been set. Anyway, that is my very disappointing experience at London Comic Con. And I've been there before. I went there back in 2015 or 2016. Me and my son went there. We met lots of Power Rangers. It was great. Bear in mind, we did go on a Friday, and we weren't meeting an A-lister, so it was probably, you know, a different scenario altogether. But, you know, I just didn't expect a company that had been doing this for so long just to mess it up so badly. Anyway, and apologies to anybody who else has been upset and disappointed about this. I'd love to hear from people that went Saturday, who didn't get to see Ncuti. And, you know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the situation as well, because, you know, like many, you know, I'm still clearly upset. And I'm probably repeating myself now. And, you know, it's like when I got to the last part, I just got my picture. I wasn't even excited, you know. But I did see Colin Baker. That was cool. I got to see Colin Baker from afar. Oh, and Natalie Dormer walked past me, so that was awesome. And then I met I can't remember his name, and it's so bad of me. Do you know the gentleman who does the little documentaries in the Doctor Who collection? He was there. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I recognize you. I wish I'd gone to speak to him, but I try not to disturb these people. You know, he was there. He just wanted to say hi to Colin, and I'm there going, hey, I love your stuff. I love your documentaries. Anyway, that is it. I'm going now. If you watched, thank you. Want to hear from you. Take care of yourself. And as always, brace geekiness. Take care. Goodbye.